Al-Hilal ready to offer big money for Bruno Fernandes. It's heating up after the final. Bruno, 100 million. He would make a ton of money going to Saudi. United get paid a huge fee. Fans are debating it. Is it time for Bruno Fernandes to head to Saudi Arabia?
I wish the answer was no. I wish we had that Europa League final win. I think that would have changed things, give us a different spectrum around this project. But for him, it's a personal decision. You know, is he done and dusted on Europe? Does he want to stay with United? Does he want to go to another club in Europe where he actually might win something? Or is he just at 30, I'm ready to rock. Let's put our feet up. Let's play in front of 1,000 people for a game and let's make a fucking $1 million a week or close to it in US dollar. If he greenlit it, we would take this deal every day. And then, we would take this all day, every day. Manchester United would obviously say yes to 100 million. That's the most we've ever sold a player for. And he's 30 years old. So that would be a great deal for United. We would have a huge Bruno Fernandes hole. I would genuinely fear that the team could get relegated next season because they're not the one player that's probably a replacement is going to Liverpool. So it makes sense on paper. It probably is metaphorically appropriate given a proper rebuild is you got to burn everything down. And maybe that full rebuild comes when they sell the club to a sovereign, but it's you sell everybody and then you start over. I could see this happening. I think now, especially with the loss, I can definitely see this happening. How do you think, sir?
Yeah, no, I think there's a bunch of different lenses to look at this through. So just as a cold-hearted reality, if I'm the director of football at Manchester United, 120, we have a deal. We need to get cash in. What we need is a full restructuring of this team. I feel like it's just built up every year. All the players are for sale. Nobody leaves. Everyone's for
Everybody
sale.
for sale.
No one really
every year.
So you need to try to do this entire, sell a bunch of players, bring in a whole new roster and target 10th in the table. That's
right.
Literally what we're doing. You also need to structure the roster where you are giving Amorim some guys, but then you're building it for probably Sean Dyche to come in for a relegation battle at some point, which you would hate to say, but you really need to be hey, we need to be able to play 4 at the back as well and just maybe give them some wing backs. But for me, if you got rid of Bruno and you look at this team and you look at the midfield, and is Bruno playing in the 2? Is he playing at 10? He didn't have a great year. He had I want to say probably a 6 to 8 week, Bruno's back campaign this season. Last year was not great. He's 31. I do he had
a good year, sir. He scored a lot of goals and assists. I mean, he almost got to 40.
We're 16th. And we lost the Europa League.
We would have been relegated.
Here we go. Let's have it out. Here we go. He had a bad final. You can look at every pass he made.
Objectively, stats. He scored the most goals and assists since his first season at United. I'm just saying.
We're 16th. We're gonna be.
We would have been relegated without him.
Okay.
Just saying.
I do. Let's say we're the worst we've ever been. He's the captain. He had a good season, not his best. You can talk about however you want, but I'm just saying, would we this team be drastically? For me, if you look at Cunha coming in at 10, you look at the options we have in the midfield. We could sign another midfielder, and it's would we necessarily? You can't buy Bruno Fernandes again. I totally respect who he is as a player, but he is best in the 4-2-3-1, which is probably what we should have played in the final. We probably would have won. He had a mare of a final. That doesn't mean he's a bad player. He's a great player, but does this system suit him? And is it time to move on at the age of 31? For me, the answer is yes. Now, is Bruno going to do that? He's kind of had some rough goes with Portugal, right? So you think about it, I think he's a great player, but he just doesn't have the accolades that I think his talent deserves. And is he ready to just lay down and die in Saudi Arabia? And I don't think so. I think he's got some dog in him. So I don't think Bruno is going to want this deal. I'd be very surprised if he just wants to say, hey, I'm hanging it up. I'm going to tuck tail and go with the EFL Cup and the FA Cup under Eric Ten Hag and 2 Europa League L's, and I'm going to go retire. And that's enough for my career. I don't think so. I think he could be a Champions League winner. He could be winning the EPL, but we don't have the money. That's where you kind of think player-centric, and then you think club-centric. We don't have the money to give him the team to do that. And so at the end of the day, and also I don't think Amorim's system really suits Bruno, if you're being honest. And those factors would make me sell him. He's a great player. You watch him play for Portugal. He's great, but I just don't see it in this system. He has to be the number 10, the main man in that spot, and we're not going to play that way.
And we don't even know how long we're going to be playing this system in the first place. We don't know how long Ruben Amorim is going to survive. So one of the lens you make transfers, you said it, is like you have to make kind of formation agnostic transfers, like transfers that will work for a 3 at the back, but also when we go back to 4 at the back when they fire Ruben Amorim probably later this year. So it's up to Bruno at the end of the day. If he greenlights this deal, it happens. If he doesn't, it doesn't. But that being said, what I'm also seeing is apparently there could be other clubs in Europe that could be interested in Bruno Fernandes. Maybe certainly not for the same wages, probably certainly not for the same fee. If Barcelona was like, "Hey, dude, you want to come?" He'd say yes. We'd say yes.
No, he'd be great for.
He deserves to win some shit outside United. I feel bad. I'm a huge Bruno guy. He certainly underperformed on Wednesday, but I put more blame on the manager because he didn't put United in a position to win that game. You can say the same about Ole in that Villarreal final. He did not put United in a position to win that game. But at the same time, he's a player.
Like,
he's got to play
watch
better.
the pass-by-pass highlight. It was bad. It was like almost like he had to come off bad. And I've never seen that. I usually he sometimes it goes missing. I'm not trying to like
I've never seen
get a
giveaways
hold
like
that guy.
I've never seen giveaways.
I'm not trying to like
from
kill
him.
Bruno, but like he had a very like one of his worst games ever was in a final, and that's just like it's hard to look at. Look, we polled the fans. Would you sell Bruno for 100 million? 65% say yes, 35% say no. For me, I just don't think we had like it's always been. He's obviously the 10 that can run the show for United. Who else are we going to give him? We gave him nobody forever. So I think he probably resents for United at some point, and maybe that's the reason he'll move on. But United are going to get worse getting rid of him. Like I agree with you there, but like, is this team enough not to try to get rid of him and rebuild it? And I feel like we're kind of hanging on a little bit, and it's like, sometimes it's time to move on. It's time to just say, hey, Hero Ball FC, we need to somehow play a Burnley style and like play together, like have lesser players, but more of a collective than the way it's been, where it's kind of been Hero Ball FC. Even under Ten Hag, it was that way. Like it's been 2 or 3 years of this where Bruno isn't just like playing lights out. United are going to be shit. And I just feel like we kind of need to focus and go in a different direction.
And if you had another 100 million because you made Europe, you'd probably be like, nah. Let's give it a go under the system with Ineos, bring in Cunha, bring in some other players, get a couple strikers. But at this point, given how bleak the financial situation is, the fact that they're talking about firing another 200 people on the footballing side and scouting in the medical department, you do it because you're like, we're fucked anyway. Let him go on his own. We make 100 million in cash.
It's also Amorim's call too, right? Like ultimately,
it all comes out of Bruno. Does he want to go to Saudi Arabia and
Bruno
retire?
And then Amorim? Like it's like Bruno and Amorim. They should be making this call together. It's going to be a big one if it happens. I think it should happen fast. I think it should happen before Aston Villa. Like we're heading into uncharted territory. So like we could debate Bruno all day and have different views on it, but United are headed into like deep water, and there's no good decisions in this. So what I'm trying to say is like where we're headed, there are no good decisions. Right. There's only difficult, and so it's literally fire sale. It's like cut off your arm for 50 million to get a midfielder in, and then like you're gambling. Like is he like Ugarte? Paid good money for Ugarte. Is he the guy? Is next year his year? I don't know. I think we need somebody else now. Then you look at the keeper.
You need him gone.
So it's like we're
a mess.
It's this summer.
You're starting to realize like how bleak of a summer we're gonna be.
No. It's actually
it's gonna be bad.
So the job to do by Ineos is like sky high.
Yep.
And it's gonna be very interesting to see how they react. And I think it is sell everybody, bring in completely new team, and it'll be very interesting to see how that goes. And we'll be covering it every step of the way. Let us know what you think. Should Manchester United be selling Bruno Fernandes? Please like, subscribe, comment below, and we'll see you in the next Manchester United video.